Hello students, in this video we will understand certain basics about electrochemistry. So as the name signifies, electro is electrical, chem is chemical. That means it deals with relationship between electrical energy and chemical energy. On the basis of the interconversion taking place between these two kind of energies, there are two types of cells which can be considered. One is electrochemical cell, whereby chemical energy is converted into electrical energy, and the other type of devices known as an electrolytic cell, whereby electrical energy is converted into chemical energy. Okay, now to make you more clear about these concepts or how these conversions work out within such type of cells, let us move ahead. Now let us consider the setup of an electrochemical cell. So let us take a zinc rod kept in contact with zinc sulfate solution, okay, and in the other beaker we have copper sulfate solution, whereby a copper rod is inserted, right? Both these beakers are connected with the help of a salt bridge. This salt bridge is basically a U-shaped tube, and it has a concentrated solution of an electrolyte. Like within this, there can be KCl, there can be KNO3. Okay, so such type of electrolytes are placed within the salt bridge. And what is the function of this particular salt bridge? Why we take this information of an electrochemical cell? Because it allows the movement of ions from one solution to the other solution without mixing of the two solutions. Okay, what we are going to do next is further this both the metal electrodes are connected with the help of an voltmeter or ammeter, okay, so that we can find out the number of electrons flowing through this particular ammeter which is attached within the circuit, right? Now it has been observed in this particular case that the reaction, like two half reactions, work out. One reaction is zinc converted into zinc plus 2 electrons, and the other reaction is copper ions accept the 2 electrons given out by the zinc as in the above reaction and gets converted into copper. Okay, so there is a copper deposition in the next reaction. What is oxidation? Oxidation is loss of electrons. So this particular first reaction which we can talk about, this half reaction is related to oxidation half reaction, okay, since loss of electrons are taking place, and the second half reaction is reduction half reaction, since here gain of electrons are taking place. Okay, one more thing you can notice, the concept of CRAO, CRAO. It means at cathode reduction takes place and at anode oxidation takes place. Okay, so on the basis of this, what can you say? Your zinc electrode is acting as an anode, yes or no? And copper electrode is acting as an cathode, because at copper electrode what is happening? Reduction is working out, right? And anode is given as negative side, so it's an negative side electrode, and copper we will show it by a positive sign electrode. Is it okay? Now what happens here? As soon as the electrical circuit is set up and the redox reaction starts working out, you can observe that because of this redox reaction, certain amount of chemical energy is formed, right? And what we are doing due to formation of this setup, that chemical energy we are trying to convert it in the form of an electrical energy. Okay, so what happens here? There are certain movement of electrons which is taking place. Where the movement of electrons is taking place, electrons are showing their movement from zinc, since at zinc there is loss of electrons and at copper there is gain of electrons. So the electrons are released at the zinc electrode, they start moving through the external circuit and moves to the copper side beaker, right? And on the other hand, what about the flow of the ions we can talk about? The flow of ions is in opposite direction through the inner circuit, right? So the flow of ions take place from copper sulfate and moves towards the zinc sulfate. So flow of ions is in this direction. Is it clear? You have to remember this thing. Electrons always flow in the reverse direction to that of the flow of ions. Is it right? One more thing you can remember here is the electrons, in case of electrochemical cells, flow from the negative pole to the positive pole in the external circuit, right? However, conventionally, this current is found to flow in the opposite direction. Is it clear? Ions also move in opposite direction, as well as your current also flows in the opposite direction with reference to the movement of electrons. However, we have come to a point that yes, this is how your electrochemical cells are set up. Yes or no? And it shows the conversion of chemical energy into electrical energy. Now let us see what are the electrolytic cells. To understand the electrolytic cell, let us take a beaker, right? In this, we are taking an aqueous solution of an electrolyte or the molten electrolyte. Which are the electrolytes? Say for example, KCl, KNO3, okay? There are various electrolytes. So let us consider any one electrolyte which are taken in this beaker, right? After that, in its molten form, okay, definitely we want it in its solution form, so it can be an aqueous solution of an electrolyte or the molten electrolyte. Then we are taking two metal rods and immersed within this vessel, right? And further, this is connected to a battery. Right? Now, what happens in such cases? The ions will start migrating towards the electrodes. The cations which are present within the electrolyte, they will start migrating towards the cathode, right? Say for example, this is acting as a cathode and this is acting as an anode, right? So the cations will start migrating towards the cathode. That means there will be deposition of positive ions here, right? And the anions will start migrating towards anode. So there will be deposition of negative ions here. Yes or no? Now, what you can observe, the anions on reaching the anode, what happens according to the Crayog concept? At cathode, reduction takes place, and at anode, oxidation takes place. Yes or no? So the anions, when reaches anode, what will they do? They will start showing oxidation. That means at anode there will be loss of electrons, right? So that I can represent at anode, right? Say the ion is B minus and it starts losing electrons, so converts into B plus electron. That is, oxidation is taking place, right? And what will happen at cathode? As soon as the cations reaches cathode, they will start gaining electrons because at cathode reduction takes place. Okay, so at cathode reduction is taking place, and that I can represent as A plus accepts electrons and converts into A. Is it okay? Whereby I am saying that AB is an electrolyte which has been taken in its aqueous form or in its molten form. Is it right? So what you can observe in such case, that a redox reaction is taking place. Isn't this the redox reaction which is taking place? Right? So the redox reaction taking place on supplying electrical energy, right? And it results into decomposition of the substance, right? This decomposition of the substance in presence of the electrical energy is termed as electrolysis, and the device for maintaining such type of systems is called as an electrolytic cell. Okay, I hope the concept is clear. So the first type we considered, how can an electrochemical cell be set up? With the complete concept I tried to make you understand. And the next concept, this particular concept is related to the electrolytic cells. Now let us see ahead. Now the next part which we can consider is regarding to conductance. Okay, now we know all substances do not conduct electrical current, right? However, the substances which allow the passage of electric current, what are they called? They are called as conductors, and the substances which do not allow the passage of electric current, right? These are called as non-conductors or insulators. Okay. Now, further we can consider the various types of conductors. So, you can consider the first type is the metallic conductors. So, metallic conductors, as the name suggests, these are the metallic substances which allow the electricity to pass through them without undergoing any chemical change. That means in such type of conductors, there is no chemical decomposition taking place. Okay. After that, the other type is electrolytes. Now, what are these electrolytes? The substances which allow the electricity to pass through them in their molten states or in the form of their aqueous solutions, right? In the case, I've shown you what is an electrolytic cell, right, and how it can be set up. There we saw, you can just scroll up the video, see the back page of this, and you can find out how the electrolysis procedure works out. So we considered electrolyte in that case, right? So in their molten state or in their aqueous forms, they undergo chemical decomposition as soon as the electricity is passed, and such types of substances are called as an electrolyte. Okay. Now you can summarize certain important points regarding metallic conduction and electrolytic conduction. So as the first point, metallic conduction is carried by the movement of electrons, whereas the electrolytic conduction is carried by the movement of ions. Okay. So since in case of electrolysis, whenever an electrolysis process works out in reference to an electrolytic conductance, what happens there? Redox reaction is established due to passage of electrical current. That means ions are formed and those movement of ions takes place, which shows electrolytic conduction. Okay. After that, next is, it involves no change in the chemical properties of the conductor, since the substance does not decompose during this process. Whereas in case of electrolytic process, what happens? Decomposition of the electrolyte takes place. Yes or no? As you take KCl, it decomposes into K plus and Cl minus ions as a result of the chemical reaction. That means substance decomposition takes place in case of electrolytic conduction. Okay. The third point you can note here is with reference to the temperature. It has been observed that the metallic conduction decreases with increase in temperature, whereas electrolytic conduction increases with increase in temperature. Is it okay? So these are certain important points to be memorized, right? After that, let us see the classification of electrolytes. All electrolytes ionize to different extent within the solution. On the basis of that, electrolytes are classified into two main categories. One is strong electrolytes and the other is weak electrolytes. So what are strong electrolytes? Substances like this, NaCl, HCl, NaOH, HNO3 and so on. Okay, they show tendency to dissociate almost completely in aqueous solution or in the molten state. That means they show almost complete dissociation like Na plus and Cl minus. Okay, and because of this almost complete dissociation, what will happen? They will have tendency to conduct electricity to a larger extent. Okay, and such types are called as strong electrolytes. As far as the weak electrolytes are concerned, weak electrolytes examples are given to you on the screen. Okay, these have low degree of dissociation, and since they do not dissociate to a larger extent, they conduct electricity also to a smaller extent. Okay, in addition to this, there are even certain electrolytes which are called as non-electrolytes. For example, sugar or urea. They are the examples of non-electrolytes. So what are non-electrolytes? These are the ones which do not conduct electricity at all. That means they do not dissociate into ions, and as a result they do not conduct electricity. Okay. Now, as far as this extent of dissociation is concerned, this is specified by a parameter which is denoted as alpha. That means to find out to what extent an electrolyte is showing its dissociation, or the fraction of the total number of molecules of the electrolyte which ionize in the solution, can be found out or can be represented by the parameter alpha, termed as degree of ionization or degree of dissociation. Okay, now let us see certain factors which affect this electrical conductivity of electrolytic solutions. So the first factor is interionic attractions. So the ions of solute, if they have stronger interactions between them, right? What will happen? Say for example, in case of weak electrolytes, what happens in weak electrolytes? Degree of dissociation is less. Why degree of dissociation is less? Because they have stronger solute-solute interactions. Yes or no? Because of this, definitely your electrical conductivity will also decrease, right? Further, second factor is solvation of ions. So when you consider any particular electrolyte in contact with a solvent, it can be an aqueous solvent, right? Now solvation of ions can take place here. As soon as the ions are formed within that system, and if there is an interaction taking place between the ions of the solute with reference to the solvent molecules, then such type of interactions are called as solute-solvent interactions. Okay, and due to this solute-solvent interactions, what will happen? Degree of dissociation will decrease. Yes or no? And because of which electrical conductivity will also decrease. The third parameter is viscosity. So viscosity will directly depend on the solvent system. So more is the solvent-solvent interaction, definitely electrical conductivity is going to be less. Is it okay? So these are basically the factors which will directly affect the electrical conductivity of your electrolytic solutions, right? These are certain basic concepts of electrochemistry. I hope each and every part of this topic is clear to you. If you are not clear of it, you can again check out the complete video and try to understand it in more detail, right? Thank you for watching.